Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the web class. My name is Benji. We are LeanScaper. Mark is joining us in a second. I want to just welcome you guys to the class, first of all. This session is called From Shovels to Strategy, How I Became a CEO Without a Degree and What I Would Do Differently. And so here's the context I would give on the next hour. Growing a landscaping company into the dream business that you no doubt have in your mind's eye, everyone has a vision, requires a lot more than hard work. You probably already knew that. There is a very fundamental mindset shift that big time leaders go through that everyone else doesn't, which is making the jump from this owner operator stage to a true CEO. And people talk about this all the time. You hear it discussed on podcast or from stage. But if you're actually going through it right now, or you're about to go through it in the next couple of years, and I have a feeling if you're here on this web class, you will be, what you'll realize is that this is way harder than most people make it sound. And so for the next hour, Mark is going to peel back the curtains and show us how he did it in his story. We don't really like slides at LeanScaper. I think they're kind of lazy and they're kind of boring, a little passe. So everything is going to be a whiteboard talk and Mark's stories and insights, which is way more engaging and fun. We'll get into the mindset and skill gaps that held him back really early on. We're going to talk about the hard-earned lessons over the last 20 years, what he wishes he knew earlier so that you can avoid making those mistakes. And that's what we're going to do for the next 58 minutes. Mark, Christian, are you guys good to go on your end? Okay. Hi, take it away.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining me. This is an interesting topic. I love talking about it. I would say my purpose these days is largely to help other people avoid some of the pain and struggle that I went through in my journey, in the hopes not so much to make it easier, just to maybe make it happen a little bit faster for people. I think us leaders, we hurt ourselves and a lot of people trying to figure out the journey from operator to CEO. And I think the world could just be a better place if people figure out how to unlock some of these tools a little bit earlier in their journey. And that's mainly why I do what I do today. So I thought I'd kick off with that. First off, I think it takes an incredible amount of self-awareness to even set out on a journey like this. I think, knowing that you're not a CEO just because you own a business or just because you are smart enough to log into a website and register one, that does not make you a CEO. I actually still to this day struggle with the title sometimes because it's such a complicated job. And I think knowing that and knowing that it is a decision to go on a growth journey to become a CEO, I think that is the first step. So just being self-aware enough to say, hey, I may not be a CEO yet. I'm a founder, I'm an operator, I'm a business owner, and I want to become a CEO. That's a healthy way to approach it because I think that in itself is telling you what the vision is. And I really believe that all of us need a 25-year vivid vision, a 10-year vivid vision, a 3-year strategic plan, and a 1-year plan for our personal lives, not just our businesses. When I really started to do that with more focused effort, I found a lot more fulfillment. Definitely a higher level of happiness. I actually don't think it's healthy to seek happiness. I think it's actually far healthier to seek fulfillment. And by really knowing where I was going and then being able to create plans on how I was going to get there and set quarterly expectations, I started to feel better about myself. And I started to stop thinking that I was failing every day. Because I think what happens to many of us is we start to feel as though we're never getting it right, because the truth is we probably never will. We're always going to be growing and stretching and growing and stretching, and all the stress and cortisol that comes into our days turns into growth at night, and the next day we're a little better and a little better and a little better. And you have to realize that the challenge that you face in business, all that stress, what it's doing is just the same as if you went to the gym and lifted heavy weights. What it's doing is it's stretching you. And this is a physical thing. And, I just spent a couple days actually at a conference where there was a physiologist who studies this, and he was describing it. And it's very much something that I've read about for many years, is that what we're doing is we're stretching ourselves, we're recovering, we're getting stronger, we're stretching, we're recovering, we're getting stronger. And this journey is a daily journey. It's something that we have to actually focus on if we want it to continue to happen. No different than if we were going to hop in our truck and drive across the country, we would focus on our Google Maps app or whichever app we decided to use to get there. We'd focus on that plan until we get there. If you're like me, I practically look every 2 minutes to see if my destination time is the same. And I think that makes the journey a little bit more enjoyable, or at least it does for me, knowing how long it's going to take to get there. And when you set out on a journey like this, I think it's important to have a plan. So we'll jump right in here. Now, ultimately, for me, my transformation from founder to CEO was really not an easy one. I had to really go from being a high school graduate to knowing how to run a large company with lots of people. That was incredibly hard for me. I think it is for most of us. But what I really wish I think I knew when I was getting into what I was doing, I wish I knew what a CEO actually does or what they're supposed to do. And, this is it, really. Like a CEO, ultimately, this little list of things right here, this is it. We've got visionary strategist. It's your job to say, here's where we're going, and here's how we're going to get there. So the visionary is here's where we're going and why. And then the strategist is here's how we're going to get there. Now, sounds easy, but it's incredibly hard to do that. And as you scale a business, if you lack that skill, everybody around you will be confused. Your culture will constantly be eroding. Nobody's going to have any fun. Your customers aren't going to be happy. The business is probably not going to scale, and you'll probably burn out. Now, I've been there. I have definitely suffered from burnout before. It's an incredibly hard place to be. It takes time to recover. It's not somewhere that any human wants to spend a minute. It's literally like being in jail in your own head. It's a very difficult place to put yourself. Now, when I was younger, I used to think that was impossible. I was indestructible. And I think many of us are like that when we're in our teens and 20s, particularly men. I think they're even worse for it. You've got this sort of belief that nothing is going to stop you. And the reality is the only thing that can stop you is you. But when you keep pushing yourself over and over and over without really understanding what it is you're doing, sooner or later, you start to turn on yourself a little bit, and your limiting beliefs actually become the biggest problem in the room. Because everybody around you might know better, but because you think you know better, you don't listen, or you don't ask, or you don't even give an opportunity for other people to collaborate. Now, I see this all the time. I work with hundreds of landscapers. I've spent days with thousands in workshops all over North America for the last 25 years. And I can tell you the most common problem that I see is people don't understand that their job is to be that visionary strategist. And so the business suffers because there's no foundation. And so, next, I have to be a capital allocator. I got to figure out where I'm going to invest money and what those returns are going to look like, how much I can pay my staff, and how much I need for equipment and materials and cash flow, how I'm going to keep everybody paid within 30 days. All these things are important. So I have to be this capital allocator. Most importantly, I have to develop a culture. And that culture has to be a culture of continuous improvement. If everybody in the company doesn't share this belief that they deserve more and that they can get more by contributing to the mission in the company, then it just doesn't happen. It gets exhausting being the founder, running around trying to make it that way, instead of building a culture where everybody makes it that way. So we really want to kind of figure this one out first, I think. This was something I just didn't really put enough thought into. I didn't think about trying to get a big group of people flowing in the same direction and literally rowing in sequence to get things done at scale. I just didn't really think about that challenge enough. It seemed like everybody would just know what I knew, but I was all wrong. I didn't realize that I'd have to be this system scaler. I knew that I needed systems. I remember reading the E-Myth and realizing I'm going to need some systems for this business. But I didn't realize that those systems would keep breaking over and over and over, and they'd have to keep scaling as the business scaled. And what worked today was probably not going to work 6 months from now or a year from now if I was 2xing or 3xing revenue year over year, which was a common thing for me early in my career. And so the systems weren't scaling, and I didn't realize that they needed to, and I definitely didn't really realize how to scale those systems with an entirely different group of people coming into the company every few months. And I think the biggest mistake of my career was not understanding that I wouldn't just become a landscaper, I would have to become a farmer, and a farmer of people. I would have to hire apprentices, and I would have to grow them like crops, and they would have to become the leaders of leaders in the company in the future. That was definitely the thing that I overlooked early in my career, that I started to figure out fairly quickly as things started to fall apart and efficiency started to wane and safety and quality and profits, everything was just not working the way it was when it was just me and the first 4 or 5 employees. And so as I started to see that I had to be the strategist, and I had to manage the money, and I had to manage culture and grow people, and I had to create systems that would be a constant evolution, I realized that I needed to evolve, because what was actually holding back the growth in the company was me. And that was a really hard thing to come to terms with. I think many of us kind of walk down this road in our brain, and we get to this point where we realize we're the problem, but we turn around and go back to where we're comfortable. And I think we do this everywhere in life. I think this is just the way we live. When we find something that's too difficult to face or admit, we turn around and go back to the last place we felt comfortable. I think our parents taught us to do that very young. If you get lost, go back to the last place where you knew somebody. Well, I think in our own minds we do this. And so for me, what was happening is I could see that I was the problem. I didn't know where to fix that problem. So oftentimes I'd just work harder and harder and harder. And ultimately, what needs to happen is I have to be creating vision, and I have to be creating strategy, and I got to be able to share it with people. And then I have to be able to create goals that mean something to people so they understand exactly what my expectations are. Then I have to have some meetings to talk about how things are going. And I have to have some form of a scorecard so that people can see how we're doing, so that they understand where we're doing well and where we're not, so they can direct their effort in the right areas. Not so that I can fire people, so that I can coach them up. When the scores aren't where they need to be, we want to talk about it, and then we want to offer help. It's our job to pull people up. But early in my career, when somebody wasn't doing their job, I would immediately start to blame them. And then I'd say things like, oh, they're not the right person for the job. And then we'd let them go and we'd hire somebody else. And guess what? The same thing would happen, and it would happen over and over and over again. All the while I'm going down this path in my mind, knowing that I'm not the leader that I need to be in order to farm these people and get them to the place that I need them to be. So I got into this cycle of just hiring and letting people have a little bit of rope, enough to hang themselves. Then I'd fire them. Then I'd rehire, and the cycle would begin again. But once I started to realize that it was actually my job to make them better and help them see exactly where they needed to evolve, just as I had to see where I had to evolve, then I think I took the first step in becoming a true CEO and a true visionary leader, where other people not only would, apply for the job, but probably want to hang around because they could understand that they could bring their entrepreneurial spirit into the company. They could contribute in a way where they understood that they were serving that overall mission, and they understood that that mission would also serve their personal mission. And I really believe that everybody's personal mission is simple. Ultimately, we want to provide for our families. We want to provide for ourselves. We want a place where we can continue to learn, continue to evolve, grow in our career, and gather more experience and information so that we can take the next step, whatever that may be for us. And creating a company where there's a lot of steps for people to take allows them to continue to evolve. And one day they may evolve right out of your company and start their own, and that's okay too. But the reality is it's your job to get them to the point where they can make that decision. And most of us don't see that. Most of us just don't see that early enough. So that's what we're going to talk about. And first off, I'm going to tell you how I did it today and how I'm teaching my own kids. Both of my kids had a college fund. They could have went to college. They each had between $400,000 and $500,000 in their college fund. I've been investing since I barely had money to buy Christmas presents each year in their college funds. And when it came time, I said to them, hey, listen, you decide what you do with your college fund. You can go to college, take whatever course you want, or you can start a business and take all of that money out and put it into a business. Now, both of them decided that they wanted to start businesses. And so my belief is that you have to learn how to be the tradesman or the operator of the business long before you become a CEO. But I do believe that the journey to CEO starts the day you start a business and you start to hire other people. So both of my kids are operators. They're only 18 and 21, and they're learning how to do the work while alongside learning how to evolve into a CEO. It's a transformation. And so this stuff is pretty fresh in my mind because I work with my own kids more than I work at anything else these days. And I'll tell you, everything I'm teaching you is what I'm teaching them. So the same level of effort that I put into my own kids, the most important part of my life, I'm pouring into you right now. And I'm doing that every week in the Accelerator program. The same lessons. That's why it's so fresh. That's why I'm extra passionate about it. But I also really think that together we can change a lot of lives if we go through this right. Now, for me, what I had to do is I had to understand that there was a big mind shift that had to happen. This mind shift was me switching from the way an operator thinks, who builds $1 million business, to a CEO that can operate a $10 million business and keep scaling it. Now, this is a really hard journey. This is an exceptionally hard journey. Getting from the 1 to 10, I would say, is by far the hardest part of my career. Now, what did I do? I'll tell you exactly what I did. Now, I wish I did all of it with more focus and in more intent. I wish I had somebody to guide me on how to do these things, when to do them, what to read, all these different things, but I didn't. I kind of mustered away and I got this mentor and this book and that book and pieced this together, I would say, over the past 25 years. What I'm hoping to be able to do for anybody in our Accelerator program is accelerate that 25 years into 1 year. I want to give you the patterns that I collected over 25 years over the course of a year, combine that with some tools and some advice and advisors and mentors, and I really hope to kind of condense that 1 year effort and then allow you to grow into your business by staying one step ahead as a CEO, rather than always kind of chasing it from behind like I did. Now, after this mind shift is there, and that mind shift is where I started this conversation. The mind shift is you saying, I'm on a journey of self-discovery that's never going to end. And what I'm discovering is what is holding me back from being able to lead others to success. And the reason I'm on the journey is because I've come to realize that I enjoy helping other people more than anything, more than money, more than toys, more than fast cars. I just enjoy helping people. Now, I think most of us are tuned that way. Ultimately, what we're truly seeking when we go buy a fast car or a shiny truck is validation from others. We want other people to like us. But the truth is, people don't like you for what you have or how much money you have in the bank. They like you based on what you do for them and what you let them do for you. People like you more when you let them help you. And guess what? They like you more when you help them. And when we help each other, we create a lot of love and connection in our lives. And you, as a CEO, you get to do that with your team. You get to do that for your family, probably at a little greater level than most. You get to do that with your customers, and you get to do that within the community that you operate and serve. And so I think there's a lot of great things that come from being a CEO besides just elevating as a person and having a few extra dollars and a little more time. There's a lot more love and connection to be had in your life if you get it right. And that should be the motivation behind this transformation. Now, how did I do it? I'll tell you, and this is exactly what I would recommend: an obsessive amount of reading in your earlier years. Now, if it's too late and you're already 50, that's fine. You can catch up, just read more, right? Ultimately, what you're reading makes a difference. That's a key component of the operating or the accelerator program, is us making recommendations on books. And I'm only going to recommend 5 to 6 books a year, maybe 12 at the most. And I really, truly think that if you're reading the right things at the right time, that really causes the momentum to pick up faster. And reading the right books on strategy, finance, leadership, really help change the patterns that you have available. So then when you're teaching and when you're learning, you've got more patterns in your mind to draw from. And they're just sitting there, but they're there waiting. This is what many of us forget to realize, is the more we read and the more information we absorb, the more patterns we have in our mind. And this is why I don't scroll on Instagram. This is why I don't use TikTok. All of those patterns that you're collecting are taking up space in your brain. If you're going to look at Instagram daily, make sure you strip it down to strategy, finance, and leadership. That's all you want to be scrolling, because you're going to absorb that. But if you're scrolling and absorbing all kinds of crap about 70s pickup trucks and van life and all these other crazy things, I've had all that stuff in my feed in the past too. You get too much of that stuff, and you can't really focus in on the patterns that are actually most important for what you're working on right now. So limiting the amount of time on the phone, and then also really being intentional about what you're allowing into your pattern recognition system is pretty important, because I think most of us try putting too much in, and then we can't even absorb the stuff that we want to absorb. So reading obsessively, but not reading just anything. We have to be thinking about what we should be reading right now to evolve in the areas we want to evolve in, which is the things that are causing the most friction. When we feel friction, that should tell us what we should be focused on fixing. Now, being a part of mastermind groups, spending time with other landscapers, other business owners, that was a big thing for me. It was an incredible component of my growth. When I didn't know what I was doing, I could ask somebody that was 15 or 20 years older, who had far more success, had much bigger companies. I could say, hey, this is what's happening in my business right now. What did you do to overcome this? And they would always tell me. It was a major component of my growth. Now, I didn't always do it exactly the way they did it. I just wanted to hear their answer. And often I would ask 3, 4, 5, 6 people for that simple recipe. And then I'd take all of their recipes, put them together, layer in my own wisdom from my own business, and I'd create my first version of a system. And I'd run it, and I'd evolve it and tweak it and evolve it and tweak it. And that's how I built my business. As I started to think about really evolving, I was running out of people to talk to like that. I wasn't able to find a lot of landscapers who would tell me what to do when I was at 30 or 40 million dollars. My problems were really big. So I started to really focus on getting coaches and advisors who had done much bigger things to come into my business for a month, 2 months, 3 months, solve a major problem, make sure I had a turnkey system and that I understood it, and we had some people trained to run it, and then I could iterate upon that system over time. Now, I really think it's better to do that far earlier in business. For me, I kind of did that a little too late, but this is a key component. Having coaches and advisors early in your business, right from $1 million, who are there at the right time teaching the right thing, not something that's for a $30 million business, but something that is for you where you're at, is a key component of your growth. And then really thinking through how, as these coaches and advisors bring these ideas into our business, how we're going to make them repeatable systems by using standard operating procedures, training rhythms, and technology to make that systematic in the business so that I don't have to think about that anymore. Because if I'm thinking about teaching people how to use my systems all the time, I can't really continue to strategize and evolve the business. And so the last thing that I think I really would focus on differently or do more of earlier would be this relentless self-reflection. Again, going down that path in your mind and finding the invisible wall or door that you don't want to jump over or walk through, that is the thing that you need to fix. Most of us get to that thing, and as it starts to feel dark and uncomfortable, we turn around and run away from it. When you learn to push through the door or jump over the wall every single time, you will evolve into a CEO. You will evolve into a better person. You will be the person you want to be. But the hardest part, the hardest thing on this whole page is knowing how to get on that road. Now, auditing your time, getting other people to tell you whether or not they understand the business. That's what an employee engagement score is. You're asking your staff 5 questions to find out if they understand why the hell this business exists, where it's going, and how to get there. And if those scores are low, then you know that you have work to do as a CEO. Most are afraid to ask. And when they don't like the score, guess what they do? They take it out on the staff. They say, well, they're just picking on me. And if that's your answer when you see low employee engagement, if your answer is to blame them for scoring you low, that's when you know you're not a CEO. When the score is low, you have to walk through that door, you have to jump over that wall, and you have to do whatever the fuck you need to do to fix it. Otherwise, forget about being a CEO. What did it look like? It's a staircase. It doesn't start at the top. Now, I know there's all kinds of people out there on Instagram and TikTok, kids that are making millions of dollars telling other people how to be a boss, but the reality is that's all bullshit. We all know that. Complete bullshit. It's one step at a time. That's the reality. Now, here's how it goes. When I was in grade 12, I decided not to go to college. I was making $18 an hour as a bank teller. I didn't know anything about anything. The bank manager came and said, hey, Mark, we've got a management training program. In 3 years, you're going to be making 6 figures if you stay with us. We'll put you through college. We'll teach you everything you need to know. I'd been working at the bank for 2 years by this point, and they really wanted to keep me. I sold more Visa cards in my 8-hour-a-week job than the full-time people did. So they were happy with me. They wanted me to stick around. The only reason why I sold more Visa cards is because I actually told people about the Visa cards. The other tellers that were supposed to do that somehow forgot every time somebody walked up to the counter. But the way I was taught as a kid from my dad was like, if someone's paying you to do a job, whatever they ask you to do it exactly that way, and you'll always have an opportunity to take a step forward. And then he said this one other thing: always do more than you're paid for, and you will always have more opportunity waiting in front of you. There will be another step if you continue to do more than you're paid for every single day. Somebody will notice. And so that was why I got that offer from the bank manager. But guess what? I said no to that offer because I knew that if I did that, that would mean I'd make $100,000 in 3 years, and I'd probably be making that 30 years later. There is a bit of a glass ceiling in the banks, and I knew that. Sure, maybe there would be opportunity to really excel for a few people, but a massive organization, there's a lot more lower chance of that happening than in a small business. So I decided I'm going to go and jump into a nuclear apprenticeship so that I learn how to do some stuff, and then later I'll probably end up starting a business. So my apprenticeship started out in a massive company, knowing that I probably wouldn't really stick around, but I needed to learn the trade skills and the management skills. I needed to be managed before I could become a manager. And so it was an important place to start. And so after 4 years, I was now managing other people, and they taught me how to be a manager, and all these great things happened. But I started there at $11 an hour, just $11 an hour job. But 4 years later, I was making $175,000 a year, because I didn't just show up for work each day. I went there and I made sure I did more than I was paid for every day. Then I went to night school 4 nights a week, and for years. I went to college full-time 2 months a year, and I just kept learning. Now, all of this mastery allowed me to learn how to estimate, project manage, and I had taken finance, and I'd taken all types of courses during those years to get this foundational knowledge to either run huge nuclear projects or maybe just kind of go back to landscaping like I was doing in high school, because I just loved it so much. So then I finally got to this point where I hit this threshold in my mind, and I thought, yeah, I'm young. It's time to get started in a business. Before I have kids, I want to kind of put the time in while I'm young. And I think this is an important thing. I think kids in their 20s should be reprogrammed to realize it's okay to work 3,000 hours a year. It's okay to work 60, 80 hours a week in your 20s, because you're accumulating knowledge. And that knowledge becomes your future foundation. And the wider that foundation of knowledge, the higher your peak later in life. This is often overlooked. And I think it's not about making more money, working more hours in your 20s. It's about accumulating more knowledge. When you accumulate that knowledge, you're unstoppable because you ask better questions. Now, this day and age, being able to ask better questions is exponential. If you know how to ask the right questions to AI, you are a superhuman. AI is useless if you don't know how to ask good questions. And the way that you learn how to ask good questions is by accumulating skills and patterns, reading more books, and doing hard shit. What we have to do here is transform into the next version of ourselves. Now, that could be a project manager, it could be a business owner, it could be whatever you want. It could be an Olympic athlete, if that's what you're working on. But we're transforming. Now, from the information that I gained as a nuclear apprentice, I then had to transform into a founder. Now, what did I know about starting a business? Nothing. Now, if I beat myself up every day, which I did, then I just slow myself down. Why would I expect that I would be an incredible business owner just because I was smart enough to sign the paperwork that said I was a business owner? just because I was smart enough to go get a bank account that had the business name on it. That does not mean anything, right? I had to now start from scratch. Just like when I started as an apprentice, I had to start from scratch again. And this is the thing that we have to be able to admit. We have to be vulnerable enough. This is the hardest lesson. My son, I'm coaching him to become a business operator right now, and he has to be vulnerable enough to hang around with 20 people who actually have more trade skills than him, and he has to learn from them. That's a place of vulnerability. It's an important lesson to learn in life, that just because you own the business doesn't mean you know more than everyone in it. And you never will. And if you keep hiring people who are subservient to you, who don't know more than you, then you will never become a CEO. Because what CEOs do is they hire their mentors. They hire people who know what they don't know. They share the strategy, they share the goals, and then they see if those people are capable of actually doing those things. I don't need to know how to do everything that my employees do. That would mean I would be a micromanager, a control freak, and most of us are. I need to know that they know the strategy and that they know what progress looks like. Your job as a CEO is to know what progress looks like and to make sure that other people in your organization know whether or not you're making progress or not. That is your job. I'll repeat that. The CEO's job is to know what progress looks like and know whether or not everyone in the company knows whether they're making progress or not. That's your job. And if you can't do it, then you're not a CEO yet. Let that one resonate. Does everyone in your company know whether or not they're making progress each day toward the vision and mission in your company? If not, then you're not a CEO. That's the one question you need to remember. Now, my next step involved actually deciding that I would also be a software founder. Now I'm running two businesses. Kind of a mistake, kind of not. I haven't decided yet. But ultimately, I had become a landscape business owner and a software founder, but I wasn't a CEO yet. I just now owned two businesses. The step to get to CEO was a big one. Now, my wages have started to climb, right? At Nuclear Apprentice, I ended up at $175K a year, which was a damn good paycheck. Then I jumped over to Landscape Business Founder. Just like when I went from the bank over to Nuclear, my pay dropped. Now I was making a lot less money. I ended up making $35,000 in my first year, and I did $1 million in sales. But I took a big pay cut. Why did I take a pay cut? Because I had mastered my nuclear know-how, but I just started a business. How could I expect to make more, right? And this is what so many of us don't realize. When you take a big step, you usually drop your price, your personal earnings in those first few steps. But watch what starts to happen as you collect all of these patterns. Well, when I jumped up to software founder, I started to measure the way I got paid differently. I didn't get paid per hour, and I didn't get paid per month. I got paid in building enterprise value. This was the mindset shift from being an operator or an hourly paid employee to now becoming a CEO. My job is to build enterprise value. My enterprise value in my first 5 years as CEO netted out at about $1,100 per hour. I was making $1,100 for every hour that I worked on the business in enterprise value creation. I wouldn't see that money until I sold shares or sold the business entirely, but that was the value that I was creating. And so, big step. Now, to get to CEO, I had to do all of that stuff for 20 years in order to get to this point. Now, as my career started to pick up steam, that 1100 actually ended up transforming over a fairly short period of time. It actually really started to pick up steam and it started to transform. And it ended up at $18,000 per hour. And it stayed at that for 5 years. $18,000 for every hour I worked, because I knew how to run strategy and I had hundreds of people doing the work in somewhat unison, never perfect, right? People just knew what direction they're going in. And what we said we were going to do would happen. 3 years later, it would happen. I could say, today, this is what we look like. I'd distort reality with my visionary brain and say, here's where we're going. And rather than just leave people out in the wind to figure out how, I would set the strategy, the quarterly goals, I'd run the meetings, I'd approve the initiatives, I'd approve the high-level budgets. And in doing so, I was now able to make $18,000 per hour. Now, is it worth going on this transformational journey that almost cracked me? Well, yeah, financially, it's worth it. But that's not what makes it worth it. I get to help other people at scale. Money is fuel. Now, in the past 8 months, since retiring and starting up other things and investing in different things, I now make $64,000 for every hour I work. And I still work a lot of hours. It's not from working harder. It's from working with purpose with more fuel. You generate more fuel, you move faster, you're more purpose-driven, and you've got a different toolbox. And so becoming a CEO helps you do this. Now, what's the next step is investor. As an investor, I'll passively make $200,000 for every hour that I actually have to work, because other people run the businesses, co-own the businesses, and I'm the fuel and I'm the advisor, and that's it. It's a very different place to spend your time. And so you have to ask yourself, is it worth going on this journey? Is this what you want to do? Now, for me, it's worth it because I'm very purpose-driven and it's more about impact. The wealth, I don't own anything. I do not own a thing. This money means nothing to me because I'm a steward of the money. It's not mine because it's not real. I can't take it into my next life. I generate the money and I'm a steward of the money, and what I do with it has an impact or it doesn't. Am I accumulating it to leave it in the bank, or am I accumulating it to put it back to work in a positive way? And when you go to work each day with purpose, knowing that you're just producing fuel or money to put back to work for more impact, then your life feels purposeful. And this is the journey to a CEO. It takes incredibly, incredibly focused effort. Huge, huge growth from a million small inputs. I told you what the inputs were. I gave you the long list. What I want to talk about is the simple fact that everyone here is thinking, this is harder than he's saying. And it is, trust me, this is harder than it looks. Everybody on the outside will say, man, that guy's lucky when you hit it right. There is no luck involved in any of this. None. I don't even believe in it. It's like complete bullshit in my mind. There is no luck. There are the laws of averages for sure with certain things, and you may end up on the right side or the wrong side, but you create your own luck by taking massive action. It's that simple. Now, if you take action without strategy, you will fuck yourself over and over and over. If you can make it down to see us in Charlotte It's $3,000 a ticket for 2 days. I'll tell you right now, after this, sign up for the community, reach out to a guide, and tell them Mark said I could come to Charlotte for free, and we'll give you your tickets. You can come once for free. Next time, you're going to have to get your wallet out. We want to build your strategic plan with you. That strategic plan is the foundation for growth as a CEO. We want you to be there. If you don't have the money, no problem. Reach out and we'll give you the tickets. This foundation is going to allow you to build a life of freedom, a life of wealth, definitely give you back the time that you need with your family and with yourself so that you can recuperate and continue to evolve. One of the most important components of everything we teach is that the owner, the founder, the CEO, whatever title you want to give yourself, and all of the other leaders in the organization need time to recuperate. You can't keep moving forward working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. So we restructure your time and we make sure that the purpose of your business is clear to you so that you can become a leader who makes sure it's clear to everyone in the organization. And then we create a roadmap of exactly where you want to be in 10 years with a vivid vision, exactly what you're going to do in the next 1 year and 3 year to make that become your new reality. And then we're going to set some goals, identify some key initiatives and some supporting strategies that are going to make that happen. We're going to find a way to measure it all. We're going to utilize scorecards so that you can be a true CEO, which means you know when you're making progress on that vision, and everyone else knows without you telling them. That's what it means to be a CEO. What does progress look like, and are we making progress or not? If you don't have scorecards in your business, you're not a CEO, and you probably don't have any alignment. You will leave with this complete. That is why we want you to be there. Now, why did I build LeanScaper? Why am I not just hanging out on a beach somewhere? This is my purpose. I want to help you avoid those pain and struggles. I want to change this industry. I want to give back to the business owners, their employees, but quite honestly, I don't care so much about you. I care about the millions of kids that are affected by us not running good businesses, by us not figuring out how to operate properly, by us not figuring out how to pay our staff fair wages so that their kids can eat healthy food and play sports and live under a nice roof. It's our job as business people to fix that. We're not going to find churches and we're not going to find governments that are going to do it. It's our job. 80% of people in North America work for small businesses. Millions of people work in this industry, and it's ours to fix. And that's why I do what I do. Now, this system that we're going to teach is really quite simple. Ultimately, what we have a very clear mission and vision that sits in the middle. When the mission and vision is super clear to you, then you can talk about it. You can talk about it so much that you drive your staff crazy. Every time you open your mouth, you're talking about the vision. You're talking about the mission. But that helps them understand why they do what they do and how much impact they have on other people. And it's important that they know that they're important, that they matter, that what they do changes lives and creates happiness and helps people in so many different ways. It's important that you are able to share that. So we get that first. Then we talk about how to strategize for operational improvements, how to improve financial outcomes, how to keep customers, how to get customers, how to sell, how to market, all these strategies. Not only do we just talk about it, but we give you the playbooks. We have AI tools that write yours. It will blow you away what the AI tools that we have for you waiting for you. The people in your company, how do you get them? How do you keep them? How do you grow them? How do you motivate them? How do you make sure that they understand your strategy? We'll give you that playbook. We'll teach you how to use it. We'll teach you how to run it. We'll teach you how to transform your people and truly become a builder of people, a major component of being a CEO. And the result of all of this, what does this all look like? Ultimately, your business scales. And the reason it scales is because you scaled yourself. And you used a system that was proven, a system that you could follow, a system that works. Your business, it's always going to be a reflection of you. If you're still blaming others, if each day you get up and things go wrong and you immediately think of who caused that problem, then you're still an operator. You're no different. You have to evolve to the point where when you see friction, you see opportunity to create systems, to teach people those systems, and to unlock their true potential. It's your job to figure out how to take average people and get elite results. And it's your job to make sure that they know when they're making progress and to make it possible for them to know when they're making progress. And if you can't do that, then you're not a CEO, which means you can't blame others. All you can do is help others. And when you've got that figured out, you're a CEO. LeanScaper is an operating system. It's a template. It's a way of operating. The accelerator program is me being your virtual CEO, showing up here every week, walking you through a complete year so that you understand that operating system and that my sentences become patterns and you form your own. Not to follow my template word for word, just to learn what took me 35 years of pain and struggle in one short year. Now, one short year, it sounds like a long time to most. To me, I've come to realize a year is nothing. 1 hour a week for a year to learn what took me 35 years, hundreds of thousands of hours. I can't even add it up in my head. Then what do? We take your knowledge and the operating system and we superpower you with AI software that will allow you and everyone in your company to operate differently. Talk to your watch, talk to your glasses, talk to your phone, get the answer. No more email, no more text, no more missing information. AI is here to stay, and we've built a behemoth. We've got advisors to help you solve problems in your business, and soon we're going to have some mastermind groups so that you've got a little bit of peer-to-peer interaction within the community that we've built. What LeanScaper is a guided transformation. When you sign up, a guide will reach out. They'll get you started with a free business assessment, and that is step one in your journey to evolving as a CEO. I'll take a few questions.
A good one from Lulu, which I feel like probably a lot of other people have. So she's asking what makes LeanScaper better than LMN? And I think this is a good opportunity for you to maybe just draw some lines and make some distinctions there.
LeanScaper is not meant to be better than LMN. I would never even think of approaching it that way. I'm very happy you asked that question, though. Nobody buys a company for $250 million and then lets the founder go and make something better. That's not what we're doing. LMN is a fantastic product that has an incredible investor and a super capable CEO to carry on the vision that we had. And this is now a shared mission. We are here to improve this industry and create a thriving industry for everyone in it. And so is LMN. That mission has not changed. What we have built is an AI workflow management platform that gathers all of the intel in the business and takes everything that I've learned for the past 35 years, every single pattern, every single tool, every single thought, and it puts that into an AI language model. that overlays with the large language models of the world. And anytime you have a question, you're going to get an answer. But the best part is, it doesn't just take everything from my head and the whole world. It takes everything from your business, every piece of data, every single fact, and puts it all in the mind of one source. And when you have a question, you will get the answer. Questions that you'll be answering here in the near term will be a little simpler, and over time they'll get more and more complex, and to the point where you may just have a crew standing on the job site asking, are there any more diamond blades back at the shop? And they'll just ask their glasses, their safety glasses, and their safety glasses will talk in their ear and say, yes, there's 23 in aisle 2 on shelf 4. And when you take one, it will know that too. The world has changed, and we're here to facilitate that change. We're not competing with LMN. We're doing everything we didn't get to do with LMN because of the limitations that existed with software code versus AI. We are not building a competitive product. We're building a complementary product. And we believe that if you're using LMN and Greenius combined with LeanScaper, you will be a market leader, and nobody will be able to compete with that.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. We don't have any other questions. I think now is as good a time as any to wrap. Mark, any final comments?
No, just I really wanted to just thank everybody for joining. I know it is that time of year. It's crunch time. It's hard to break out of the day-to-day. I always just like to acknowledge that and appreciate the fact that everybody here is on the journey just for showing up. And so just wanted to congratulate everybody for breaking out of the business to work on themselves, on the business. I don't like saying work on the business. I like saying work on yourself. And I think that's what everybody here is doing. So thank you all for being here, and make it a great day.